dissatisfaction. Just two sharp, cold words. Harsh, almost cruel, spoken casually by the wealthiest man alive. For Lauren Sanchez, those words weren't just careless, they became a death sentence, shattering the illusion of victory she once believed she held. How did she transform from the much-hyped billionaire bride into a hunted figure, cornered by a staggering $5 billion lawsuit, all within the span of only 30 days? And here's the real twist. Why was Jeff Bezos already preparing for her downfall long before he uttered those supposedly romantic words, "I do"? Before we unravel this high-stakes mystery, don't forget to hit subscribe and smash that like button. It truly helps the channel grow. Wild wedding, wasn't it? Bezos' lavish ceremony shocked the entire world.
What began as the most extravagant wedding of the decade has now spiraled into one of the greatest scandals of our time. The glitter faded fast. As the lights dim and confidential legal documents start surfacing, a darker, more unsettling truth begins to take shape. And that truth leaves no room for doubt. This was never a fairy tale romance, but something far more complicated. Yesterday, we explored the saga of Jeff Bezos' multi-billion-dollar divorce, but today's revelations are even more explosive. Hidden details are now coming to light, details that force us to pause and ask ourselves, what did we ever truly know about this couple? Because if recent reports are accurate, the entire collapse centers on one shocking twist: Jeff Bezos' disclosure of Lauren's real motives, the secret intentions she had carefully kept hidden.
A revelation so powerful, it ignited what could be called the most ruthless revenge plot in billionaire history. Sounds unbelievable, maybe even absurd, but I can't remain silent, not after reviewing those documents with my own eyes. For me, this isn't about gossip, it's a matter of principle. If exposing it brings criticism, backlash, or even an attempt to smear my name, then so be it. Because once the truth surfaces, hiding it would feel like a crime in itself. Now, imagine this: Lauren Sanchez, caught in the middle of a colossal $5 billion divorce, desperately trying to halt the avalanche with nothing more than tearful last-minute pleas. A woman who once managed her image with flawless precision suddenly cracked, collapsing into panic and begging on her knees before the very man she believed she had deceived. And here's the real hook. Sources claim those final moments tell a chilling story. If you're ready for what comes next, hit that subscribe button now, because the revelations about to unfold may leave you breathless. When Lauren finally grasped that her carefully constructed world was collapsing at the speed of light, she reacted in a way no one had ever seen before. She displayed raw, undeniable panic. Phone calls poured in, text after text was fired off, and in sheer desperation, she even attempted to appear unannounced at his office door. But Jeff Bezos, the architect of one of the most powerful business empires in human history, met her with nothing more than a cold, unflinching stare. And then, with chilling precision, he spoke two words that severed everything: too late. Not an opening for discussion, not an olive branch, not even the faintest hint of reconciliation, just a brutal, final judgment. Those two words carried the weight of an empire and demolished not only a marriage, but also Lauren's ambitions, her strategies, and her dream of cementing herself permanently among the global elite. The shocking part is that his words weren't delivered in anger, nor in a burst of frustration. They were spoken with the same icy, calculating precision that Jeff Bezos has long used to shut down a failing business division. No hesitation, no second chances, no room for sentiment. It was pure business logic, stripped of humanity, directed at dismantling a person rather than a company. And remember, this was the tone immediately following a wedding that looked less like a celebration of love and more like a billion-dollar fashion editorial blended with a royal coronation. Every single detail was engineered, every photo airbrushed into perfection, every moment staged for peak social media influence. Yet, despite all the spectacle, the lights, the glamour, the carefully orchestrated extravaganza, Bezos still chose to cut the cord, pulling the plug with ruthless finality. He carried it out with the kind of icy precision that only a man commanding a fortune of $200 billion could possess.
And what made the act even more jaw-dropping was its timing. Barely a month had passed since the extravagant wedding in Venice, a spectacle that set social media on fire, captivating the world with equal parts envy and admiration. Lauren Sanchez was hailed as the dream bride, and why wouldn't she be? After all, marrying Jeff Bezos was supposed to mean lifetime security, never having to glance at a price tag again. But here lies the bitter twist. Money wasn't the solution, it was the very problem. Not because there wasn't enough of it, but because unimaginable wealth multiplies the opportunities for manipulation and betrayal. What's truly disturbing is how the public so willingly swallowed the fairy tale. Headlines painted them as the ultimate power couple, two titans, flawlessly united to extend an empire without limits. But now, according to insiders, the red flags had been visible from the very beginning. You simply had to know where to look. Jeff Bezos has never been a man who acts on impulse. A former Amazon executive who worked beside him for years once remarked, "When Bezos makes a fast move in his personal life, it's never spontaneous. It's because he's been laying the groundwork for months, maybe even years. This is a man who plans his breakfast 3 steps ahead. Do you really think he wouldn't prepare for this marriage?" And then came the lawyers. They appeared almost overnight, circling with the relentless precision of vultures, targeting the richest prey of the decade. Within days, Lauren's assets were locked, frozen with such speed and efficiency that even veteran Wall Street attorneys admitted they were caught off guard. Some reports go further, suggesting that the situation became so severe, so suffocating, that Lauren may have slipped into hiding altogether. Desperate to outrun the looming legal storm, a storm powerful enough to obliterate everything in its path, Lauren vanished from the very spotlight she had once craved so fiercely and fought for with relentless determination. The woman who had built her entire identity on visibility, on living under the constant gaze of cameras and headlines, had suddenly retreated into the shadows, almost unrecognizable as a recluse. And those familiar with the case insist this was no ordinary separation. This wasn't just a pile of divorce documents shuffled across a lawyer's desk. It was a ruthless, highly calculated campaign. The aim wasn't merely to end a marriage, it was to dismantle Lauren Sanchez as a public figure, to strip away her influence piece by piece. "This isn't a divorce," declared one legal expert who reviewed the files closely. "This is an execution carried out through the law." And in the process, Bezos didn't just seize her wealth, he systematically dismantled her power. He didn't just strip away her money, he stole her future. The strategy was so sweeping, so razor-sharp, that it leaves you questioning how long Bezos had been laying the groundwork. Was the entire romance nothing more than a carefully staged cat-and-mouse hunt, with Lauren unknowingly cast as the prey? What makes it truly chilling is the systematic precision behind it all. Every asset that could have granted her independence was immediately frozen. Every business connection she had nurtured during their marriage was quietly placed under watch. Even her personal social media accounts fell under the microscope of Bezos' legal team, scanned meticulously for the slightest violation. It was like witnessing a person's existence being erased in real time, one insider revealed. Doors that had once swung open simply because she carried the name Mrs. Bezos were now slammed shut with brutal finality. For the couple's old circle of friends, it was heartbreaking. They remembered the parties, the luxury vacations, the children laughing together. Now, those memories stood in sharp contrast to the Cold War unraveling before their eyes. And then, like a thunderclap, the truth finally surfaced. While Lauren was flashing smiles at one man, she was secretly betraying another behind his back. This wasn't just ordinary infidelity. It was a violation of trust at its most intimate level. That revelation cut far deeper than a typical scandal, because this wasn't an affair between strangers. It was the demolition of a long-standing friendship, a bond where secrets were shared, where private struggles and victories had been exchanged over the years. One bitter insider remarked, "I don't condone that kind of behavior, but I can't pity Lauren either."
When you decide to play with fire on this scale, you'd better be ready to get burned. It's that friendship element, the collapse of loyalty, that makes the entire story so brutal. Because at this point, it's no longer just a tale of romance or fortune. It's about betrayal between people who once trusted each other with everything. It's about loyalty, trust, and the unspoken codes that govern their exclusive, high-stakes world. At the billionaire level, betrayal isn't merely a personal wound. It has the power to unravel entire networks of business and influence built painstakingly over years. Those close to all three describe a tangled web of obligations, expectations, and unbreakable alliances, all of which Lauren had shattered. These were far more than casual friendships. They were high-powered partnerships involving billions in deals, philanthropic ventures, and political leverage. The breach of trust sent shockwaves through every corner of that world. And make no mistake, this wasn't an impulsive reaction or a moment of anger. It was a meticulously calculated move, executed with the precision of a military operation. Once the magnitude of the chaos became clear, Lauren attempted to reach out, sending calls and texts in desperation. She even pleaded for another chance, but Jeff's response was chillingly concise. Just 2 words: too late. Those words carried the icy detachment of the empire he had meticulously built over decades. In his world, there is no room for emotion, no space for negotiation, and certainly no second chances. The verdict was final and, true to Jeff Bezos' nature, utterly irreversible. This incident underscores just how calculating and strategic he really is. Sources reveal that Bezos even allowed Lauren to make moves that technically breached the prenuptial agreement. Like a master chess player, he let her make errors, fully aware that each misstep would ultimately strengthen his position when the final confrontation arrived. He could have intervened months ago, yet he waited, letting the pieces fall exactly where he wanted. A legal insider reveals that Bezos possessed all the evidence, all the authority needed to end it instantly, but he chose not to act. Instead, he patiently observed, meticulously taking notes and documenting every single detail, constructing a trap from which Lauren could not escape. By the time he made his move, she was completely vulnerable. Picture this, the empire they once showcased to the world, now beginning to fracture and crumble under the scrutiny of millions. The leaks, court documents, and media coverage that followed would expose a level of chaos, scandal, and betrayal beyond anyone's imagination. But how did things reach this point? What appeared as a flawless relationship from the outside had already become a strategic nightmare, with every move seemingly orchestrated by Bezos long before Lauren realized she was playing a high-stakes game. The truth lies hidden in the details that are only now emerging. The details reveal a story that is as fascinating as it is terrifying. What's truly astonishing is the sheer level of foresight and precision with which Bezos orchestrated every step. We're not just talking about a single strategy. He had contingency plans layered on top of contingency plans. Every possible move Lauren could make had already been anticipated, with a calculated counter waiting patiently in the shadows. It was as if Bezos was playing an intricate game of 4-dimensional chess, while Lauren innocently believed this was just a simple romantic relationship. Even his approach to marriage appeared methodical, as if every eventuality had been planned long before anyone could imagine. His level of strategy is nothing short of extraordinary, leaving no room for error, no chance for surprise, and no escape from the framework he meticulously built. A former employee once quipped that before the first guests even set foot on the cobblestone streets of Venice, before hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent on custom-made Valentino gowns, before thousands of dinners were served beneath dazzling floodlights, and long before paparazzi from across the globe arrived, Jeff Bezos had already quietly drawn the battle lines for the future. At the heart of this extravagant spectacle, a trillion-dollar confrontation was silently being prepared, the prenuptial agreement. But this was far more than a mere contract for dividing assets. It was a meticulously crafted legal weapon of unparalleled power. Drafted by Bezos and an elite team of America's top lawyers, the document was so strategic that even the wedding was postponed to ensure it was perfected. Not even their closest friends had the slightest idea of its contents, underscoring just how secretive and calculated Bezos' approach truly was.
Many assumed that since they were based in Florida, the prenuptial agreement would simply follow standard rules: marry here, divorce here. But that assumption barely scratched the surface. The agreement purportedly contained clauses that few could have anticipated: strict rules of conduct, highly specific social media restrictions, and even detailed limitations on how Lauren could interact with business contacts she met through Jeff. In essence, the document resembled less a typical prenuptial contract and more a detailed employment agreement for a top-level executive at one of Bezos' companies. Some acquisition contracts I've reviewed are far less restrictive than this. It was a legal blueprint designed to control every aspect of personal and professional interactions, leaving no room for surprises or deviations.
A seasoned attorney, experienced with countless high-profile Omega properties, admitted that this prenuptial agreement was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was crafted to control virtually every aspect of Lauren's life, ensuring that any action with even the slightest potential to affect Bezos' sprawling business empire was firmly under his authority. This was far beyond a typical asset protection contract. It was a multi-layered, virtually bulletproof legal masterpiece, engineered with absolute precision and foresight. Only someone with Jeff Bezos' unique vision and strategic mind could conceive such a document. Just as he meticulously plans and executes a rocket launch into space, Bezos approached the drafting of this prenuptial agreement with the same level of detailed strategy, leaving no element to chance and no gap unaccounted for.
According to insiders familiar with parts of the agreement, it was meticulously prepared months before the wedding even took place. Bezos brought together the most formidable team of lawyers in the country to construct a document that was airtight, a financial fortress, impenetrable and fortified against any conceivable challenge. But the brilliance of the agreement went far beyond merely safeguarding Bezos' assets. It was designed to anticipate every possible scenario, every potential conflict, and every move Lauren might make long before it occurred. It was akin to a chess match where Bezos already knew the next 20 moves of his opponent. Meanwhile, Lauren remained unaware that she had even stepped onto the board. Remarkably, the prenuptial agreement reportedly included specialized clauses known as trigger acts, strategically set to activate in response to specific actions, ensuring total control and foresight. Certain specific actions by Lauren would automatically strip her of all benefits outlined in the agreement. Using the marriage to elevate her personal brand, appearing in public media without Bezos' approval, or even posting a misleading comment on social media could all trigger severe penalties. This was never just about money. As one legal expert explained, this is about control. Control of the narrative, control of public image, and even control over personal relationships. The agreement granted Jeff Bezos near absolute authority, essentially the power to remove someone entirely from his social and professional sphere. Shockingly, Lauren reportedly signed the 200-page document just a week before the wedding, under immense pressure. Imagine guests have flown in, the world eagerly awaits the ceremony of the century, magazine covers are ready, and suddenly a dense legal document is placed before you. Sign it, or the wedding is canceled.
There was no time for negotiation, no personal attorney to advocate on her behalf, only an ultimatum: sign it or lose everything. Faced with impossible pressure, Lauren made a choice that would haunt her. Sources reveal she was cornered by media attention and entangled business obligations connected to the marriage, leaving her with virtually no escape. Bezos' team had orchestrated the timing perfectly, presenting the agreement just before a major media event, when her capacity for clear thinking was at its lowest. Fast forward to today, and the very document that was once intended to secure their shared future has become Bezos' ultimate weapon, a legal instrument capable of stripping Lauren of every asset, cutting off all access, and even severely limiting her ability to defend herself publicly.
Everything Lauren had anticipated, shares in the company, real estate, alimony, was stripped away due to clauses she had signed without fully grasping their implications. But the most devastating aspect of the agreement is a single provision that has sent ripples throughout the legal world, earning the ominous nickname, the Almonomany Trap. This ruthless clause imposes extreme media restrictions, stating that if Lauren ever attempts to leverage the marriage, using her position as Bezos' wife, pursuing personal branding deals, appearing in media, advertising, or engaging in any form of public exposure without explicit written consent, then every single financial right she holds under the agreement will be instantly nullified. The clause transforms the prenuptial agreement from a standard legal contract into a weaponized tool of control and leverage, leaving her almost entirely powerless.
In legal circles, this provision has earned a chilling moniker, the $5 billion boomerang, a weapon that Lauren unwittingly helped construct by signing the agreement. Now, it has turned against her, threatening to dismantle everything she had built. The cruelty of the boomerang lies in the fact that all of Lauren's efforts to cultivate her public profile during the marriage were now being used as evidence of wrongdoing. Social media posts, magazine features, and business meetings were all weaponized by Bezos' legal team to prove she had breached the prenuptial agreement. As one attorney put it, she had essentially built her own legal coffin. Every Instagram upload, every photo shoot, every professional engagement became potential incriminating evidence. Remarkably, the ink on the marriage certificate had barely dried when Bezos had already set the next stage of his calculated, unyielding plan into motion. Just days after their opulent wedding in Venice, a celebration so lavish that even the chandeliers reportedly came with confidentiality clauses, Bezos delivered a legal shockwave that reverberated across the world. One guest recalled, "Holding that invitation, I knew it was something extraordinary, but no one could have realized it was a trap laid bare for the entire globe." The invitations, edged in gold and emblazoned with the couple's personal crests, were stunning works of art, valued higher than many people's entire monthly incomes. Yet behind the splendor lay a hidden agenda. Every aspect of the ceremony had a dual purpose. The wedding was more than a celebration, it was a meticulously documented legal spectacle. Every photograph, every gesture, every private moment was carefully captured, not merely for memories, but as evidence for potential future legal battles. In essence, Bezos transformed his own wedding into a full-scale intelligence operation. According to a source involved in organizing the event, the photographers were not merely capturing celebratory moments, they meticulously recorded interactions, eavesdropped on conversations, and quietly compiled a case file under the guise of romance. Even the guest list was carefully curated, with each attendee potentially serving as a witness to Lauren's behavior, statements, and intentions. What appeared to outsiders as an extravagant high society gathering was in reality a highly sophisticated evidence-gathering mission. Legal experts who have reviewed the documents assert that the operation went far beyond a conventional divorce. It was a surgical dismantling of reputation, executed with meticulous precision, leaving virtually no angle unmonitored and no detail unrecorded.
Bezos didn't merely reclaim gifts or divide assets. He executed a calculated, ruthless strategy to sever Lauren from anything that could provide financial independence or influence in the public sphere.
What makes this even more astonishing is how Lauren learned of the legal onslaught. There was no call from her husband, no warning from a lawyer. Instead, a delivery man appeared holding a thick stack of court documents. The shocking package arrived while she was walking through Malibu, blissfully unaware, believing her life and future were secure. Picture the scene. Choosing a designer handbag, planning the next Instagram post, and suddenly, a stranger hands you a file that has the power to obliterate your entire world within moments. A devastating collision of ordinary life and extraordinary legal peril.
The most chilling aspect of this attack was its utter precision. This wasn't merely a standard lawsuit, it was a carefully orchestrated legal onslaught aimed at dismantling every possible defense Lauren could mount. Documents were filed across multiple courts, assets were frozen, and cease and desist orders even reached her business associates. This had escalated far beyond a divorce. According to Bob Minger, it was a full-scale legal war executed with near military efficiency. One expert noted, they attacked from every conceivable angle simultaneously. By the time Lauren realized the scope of the assault, it was already too late. In desperation, she tried contacting Jeff. Calls went unanswered, texts ignored. Even visiting Amazon and Blue Origin headquarters proved futile. Security blocked her entry, watching her every move. It was as though her influence and power evaporated almost instantly, leaving her completely exposed and powerless.
A source revealed business partnerships were abruptly terminated. Social invitations vanished. Friends became unreachable overnight. Lauren was effectively erased from the upper echelon. A Hollywood insider added coldly, "Yesterday, she was a billionaire princess. Today, she is effectively nobody." This social and financial exile wasn't a coincidence. It was meticulously planned. The words "too late" weren't merely a rejection. They were a symbolic death sentence, the culmination of a calculated campaign designed to dismantle Lauren piece by piece. By the time she understood the trap, every escape route had been sealed. Assets were frozen, legal avenues blocked, and her influence obliterated. Those two words marked her defeat in a game she hadn't realized she was even playing. If Jeff Bezos can strategize marriage like launching a rocket, imagine the other chilling secrets still waiting to be uncovered. Subscribe now because the next episode promises to reveal even more shocking revelations.